Randomness? It's a girl thing. Planning your entire future with a guy you've only spoken 3 words to? It's a girl thing. Online shopping problem? It's a girl thing. A full camera roll? It's a girl thing. Going to the bathroom together? It's a girl thing. You name it. It's a girl thing. Hi everyone, and welcome back to the It's a Girl Thing podcast. If you're new to joining us, I'm Kate. I'm the host of this show. And here we kind of talk everything wellness, life, going into the big wide world for the first time, and just sharing advice for those around us. Today's episode is all about 2023 and the year it has been. Or at least for me, it has been a year, like a roller coaster of a year. And that's a bit of a worry to me. Not a worry, so to speak, but like, it's been a roller coaster of emotions, yet I still feel okay about it. Like, I don't really have anything bad. Well, actually, no, I do have a lot of bad things to say about this. But really, overall, I still made some really, really good memories. Also, my voice sounds a little bit wacky. I was supposed to record and post this episode last week, but my hay fever has been kicking my ass. And so my voice sounds really bad, and for about 5 days, I could not breathe out of my nose. So my voice sounded very nasally. So we're going to try and do this today, so I apologise if my voice doesn't sound like it should. Today I'm going to talk my top 6 life lessons from 2023. They all really specifically relate to my experiences this year, but I think they're all really helpful pieces of advice for anyone to take on going forward. So the first thing is, everything is temporary. Like, don't take life too seriously. I've made this mistake for so long and took life as it is all the time without stopping sometimes and actually having some fun. Because as bad as it sounds technically, I could try and cross the road and get hit by a bus. That's my life gone. And if I've taken my life too seriously, then what memories am I going to have? What memories are the people around me going to have with me? They're going to have these memories of a serious person who didn't live life. So really just live your life. You will get so many opportunities handed to you throughout the years, and it's so important that if you think there's even a small chance that you might benefit from it, take it, because the small amount of regret you might have for taking that opportunity, the regret you'd have for not taking it in the first place will probably outweigh it. For me, we did camps in year 10, and I don't come from like a sporty, outdoorsy family per se. We love to travel, we love to do things, but we've never really been like the hike, the trampy kind of family. And there was a whole list of camps ranging from your like really expensive beach camp to just your everyday kind of like tourist destinations of our country. And I was like, let's throw myself out of my comfort zone. This was 2020, bear in mind. So I'd already been through enough changes for the year. I was like, you know what, I can deal with one more. So what did I do? I decided to go on the 4-day, 3-night tramping, mountain biking and rock climbing camp. Yes, I definitely do have some regrets, but I'd have to say, one of the best decisions of my life. I discovered that I actually really quite like hiking. Okay, yes, I also did complain. We did about a 6-hour tramp. We couldn't do the original one we were supposed to do, which was the Tongariro crossing, because we would have been blown off the top. So grateful I did that. The tramping part of it was actually really fun. I did complain going uphill quite a bit, but so did a lot of us. I was one of the 4 girls who went on this camp, so that was also really cool. I got to kind of show what I could do and who I can be to some people who'd never seen that side of me. Mountain biking, my mum told me before we left, she goes, Kate, you cannot get lost on the Tongariro crossing. You cannot get lost going tramping because you have no way of getting yourself back because you've never done it before, you're going with the school, you don't have contact or anything like that. I go, yes mum, I'll be careful, I'll stick with the group. On the first day, we went mountain biking, and on that first day, I got lost. I fell off my bike. I'm not a biker, not a cyclist. I don't ever go mountain biking really in general. I own a bike, but don't do anything really much. So we had to do this little bike, and we'd been given
the instructions of the path. So it was like, go here, take left, and then keep going, and then take the next left, and then come take. Just got given all these instructions at the beginning. And in my head, I'd heard a certain number of lefts. So I was doing my little biking, was with some people, fell off my bike, got up, I was like, oh no, it's okay, just give me a second, I'll catch up, thinking there was one more group of people behind me. There wasn't. So I got back up on my bike, was pedaling, got to like a crossroads, and sat there going, left, right, left, right, left, right, and I really could not remember, but I was like 99% sure it was a left. So I go to a left. I got to like a railroad. We weren't supposed to reach a railroad at any point. Like, I was not supposed to, nowhere in the instructions, like all those kind of things were mentioned in our instructions, what we'd come to. Not once was a railroad mentioned. So I stood there and I'm starting to panic at this point, going, I'm all on my own, I'm in a different place, I'm on a bike, I'm panicking, like I was losing it. I started crying, takes the verbs back, goes to the other path, going, this doesn't sound right either, like this doesn't really match what I thought I was going to have to do. So I go back, and then I go back down the left path, and I'm standing at this railroad. At this point, I'm tears running down my face, I'm crying, I'm going, oh gosh, what do I do? I pull out my phone, because I had my phone on me, as you do as a teenager, and I had some cell phone service. And what I remembered is that one of our teachers had given us his phone number for our parents in one of the emails. So me, turns on my data, I'd run out of data, funnily enough. So helpful. But I had a data hour, thank you 2 degrees. And I turned that on, and then I found this number, and I called my teacher, crying, going, sir, I'm lost. Please, somebody tell me where I went wrong. I took a left and now I'm at a railroad. So eventually I managed to find everyone again. I walked my bike up the hills because I had run out of every bit of adrenaline that was left in my body. My teachers laughed. And to this day, they cannot actually work out where I ended up. We spent about an hour in that evening looking at a map going, where on earth did you end up? But that's my fun little story. I got really sunburnt on the tramp. In the rock climbing, I was so sore from the tramp, but overall, one of the best experiences of my life, and I would not change it for a thing. So really, everything in life's temporary. Make sure you take all those opportunities that you can, because you might run out of time. Number 2, nobody who is doing better than you will judge you for what you are doing. And this, to me, applies so much because I've started 2 different podcasts this year, one with friends and this solo one here, and the social media for it, and putting myself out there in order to try and build a following and build people who want to come and listen and come and contribute to the discussions that I'm having. That's been such a big thing for me, putting myself out there. And yes, people have made fun of me for it. I won't deny that. People have judged me for it. People are like, why are you doing that? But then I've also had people go, that's so cool. I really relate to that. And that makes me feel good. But genuinely, people are gonna judge you in life regardless of what you do. You have clearly given them something that is worth judging. If you did nothing, they're still gonna judge you, but they've not really got anything to judge. But by putting yourself out there, doing something, taking that risk, maybe you've always wanted to be a YouTuber, maybe you've always wanted to start your own business, people are always going to judge you for those first steps. Because until you're successful, until you've got something for them to see as success, they're always going to judge you. I'm learning this along the way, that I don't have to have something to show for it to be a worthwhile investment of my time. Because then you're going to look, the people who have thousands and thousands of followers on TikTok, they started in the same place that you did. Those YouTubers with 1 million subscribers who come in and tune in to all of their videos, those people had to start from where we're at now. People with successful businesses, small, big, corporate, they all had to start at the bottom. So those people who've done so much more than you and are currently achieving more than you, they will not be the ones to judge you, because they know the time, the effort, and the passion that had to go into it to get to the point that they are at now. So honestly, take that risk. and let people judge you, because you're doing something worthwhile. And if you're passionate about it, if you want to do it, if you want to reach that goal or dream, honestly, as Nike would say, just do it. Number 3. Everybody copes with loss and change differently. This year has been a crazy, crazy year. I have lost 3 different people. I've lost 2 people, 2 family members and a pet this year, as well as being broken up with, as well as breaking up with somebody. I've faced a lot of loss and a lot of change this year, and that has shown me a lot of things, because up until this point I haven't really lost anybody close to me. I know people around me who have, and I have tried to be supportive, but not understanding what grief looked like until I experienced it myself. So I lost my grandma in March, 2 days before my dance recital, and that was the hardest thing I've ever had to experience in my entire life. Okay, yes, I only have 18 years of life to go off, but it was the hardest moment of my life, knowing that she was gone and that there was nothing I could do to change it. For me, I was busy prepping for my dance recital when all of this happened. She went into hospital and everything like that happened, and she passed away. So I had to keep going. Or at least in my mind I had to keep going, because I knew that was what she would have wanted. So I pushed through. I fought tooth and nail. I blocked her death out. I, to an extent, pretended like it didn't happen. All my other dance studio girls, they'd heard what had happened, for the most part. But what they didn't know was that I didn't want to think about it. So I didn't. I danced, I did it. But because I had blocked it out, I blocked it out until the point where I absolutely snapped and I lost it. Like, I was a mess emotionally, mentally, and then because of the emotional toll, physically. This also led me to going to therapy for the first time. I have probably needed to go to therapy for a few years now. It would have benefited me way sooner, but I was always too scared, because there's like that taboo around therapy, and that you've got to be in a really, really bad place to go, and then it makes you weak. But actually it really doesn't. It makes you one of the strongest people, because you know when to accept help, and you know when to reach out, and you know when you really just need to sometimes talk it out and have somebody with an unbiased opinion to the situation that you're in have something to say about it. One of my cousins, she's about 4 years younger than me, hey if you're listening to this, she experienced the grief of our grandma differently to what I did. I live in the same town as my grandma. I've grown up with her. I adored her. She was one of my favourite people on this entire world, and I have a lot of close memories with her. Whereas my cousin lives about 4 hours away and doesn't come down very much, so didn't get to see a whole lot of our grandma. So when our grandma passed away, I was grieving. So was the rest of our family. But she didn't feel like she was entitled to grieve grandma the same amount as the rest of us, because she didn't know her as well. But I think that's one thing a lot of people need to remember. You are allowed to grieve whoever you like, however you like, for as long as you like. Grief is different for each person, but regardless of how much you knew somebody, how much you were close to somebody, if they were someone in your life that you loved and cared about or had an influence over you, you are gonna feel that grief. And in order to get through that grief and allow life to build around that grief, you have got to let yourself feel it. Allow yourself the grace to experience that grief. Sometimes you just have to experience it and feel it each day. This goes for change, this goes for loss. You've just got to experience whatever feelings you're feeling in that moment, in that time. If you need to feel something, if you need to talk something out, if you need to do it for yourself, take a day out, do it. If one day you're fine and the next day you're not, that's okay. It's all part of it. The grief will never actually go away. That person will never actually go away. But everything in our life builds around it. Time rebuilds around the grief. And my best friend gave me this great analogy of that when you start grieving for the first time, you're in this, there's a tiny box and there's a big red button in the middle. And you're bouncing around in this box. And when you hit that button, that's when you feel the worst waves of grief. And as time goes, the button stays the same size, but the box becomes bigger until You're bouncing around in your box being your life, and you'll only hit that grief once in a while. That grief is still right there, but everything else has grown around it. Doesn't mean you're not going to feel it, you just probably won't feel it as often. And if you feel it more often, that's okay too. But regardless, everybody deserves to grieve. We're halfway through, and I'm moving on to some more little life lessons that I've really learned. Number 4, it's okay to remove people from your life who don't help you serve the best version of yourself. Funnily enough, I was at a party the other day, and someone I've known since childhood, he said the same thing to me. We were talking about the fact that people are leaving to uni, and it's a good time that if you need to remove people from your life, you should. And one of the ways you can do that is evaluate whether they're actually serving the best version of you. Are they supportive of your endeavours? Do they want you to be the best person you can be? Are they kind? Are they loving? Or do they talk behind your back? Do they get people to gang up on you? Do they just make you feel lesser of a person when they're around? Do you constantly feel like you're dulling your sparkle so they can shine? If you're feeling like the latter, then maybe it's time to reevaluate that friendship. I've had to do that with a couple this year, and I think I'll continue to find I do that as I leave to go to university, that people who used to serve me when I was younger don't serve the me now, and I think it's time that we learn that it's okay to let people go, because no matter how long you have known them, no matter how close you are, if they are hurting your mental health, then it's time for them to go. If they are hurting you, it is not worth it. It is never ever worth it if it is hurting you. If it is making yourself feel bad, then evaluate that friendship. Look at them and say, honestly, you can sit down and have a conversation with them and say, hey, you're making me feel this way, whatever that way may be. Tell them and say, are you intentionally doing this? Is there something that we can do in this friendship to fix it? If it's a friendship you want to attempt to try and hold on to, have that conversation with them. If they're a good person, if they're someone who does value your friendship, then they'll try and navigate that with you and work around it and find a solution. If they are a toxic friendship, they will make you feel like you're in the wrong. You will feel like you are trying to pull away and they're putting themselves all into your friendship. But they're not. When you think you're in a toxic friendship, get out of it. It's my best advice. Not my best, but one of the best pieces of advice. It's okay to let go of people. Number 5, don't be scared to love. As I said, this year's been a roller coaster. Losing people, losing relationships. You kind of lose this understanding of what love is, and you kind of lose this desire to love people, love things, love yourself, love life, because you look at this perspective that everything just slowly gets torn away from you, bit by bit. And as depressing as that sounds, I got into that mindset as well. But honestly, the most important thing I've learned this year is don't be scared to love, because love is one of the greatest feelings you can have in your entire life. It is such an honour to love people, and although sometimes it does hurt in the end, everything that you've made, all those experiences, all the connections, all the people, all the things that you've come to love in your life, all of those are going to be so much greater than the pain you feel. It's like a pros and cons list, but there's one con and there's 50 pros. Love is always going to be greater than the con. So love hard and love deeply. Let yourself fall in love with living, fall in love with people, fall in love with life, and live every minute. Because you will make mistakes. You may love the wrong people, but every time you love somebody or something or yourself, and if you make a mistake, the only way you'll know is because you've made that mistake by living and loving and learning. That's the only way you're going to know not to make that mistake again. So instead of living in fear of loving, go out, be aware that you might make mistakes, but love. Because you'll get hurt. You will. I know that. 100% I know that. Someone who has been broken up with by her first love this year. It will hurt. No doubt about it. But you'll come back. You'll survive. I did. And you never know. It all just leads you to the right person, in the right timing, And if that person's meant to come back into your life in a different way, they will. And lucky last, number 6, you don't have to stay the same. I'm just giving you a second to pause on that one. You really don't have to stay the same. I am 18. I've just graduated high school. If I go back to year 9, when I started high school, those two people are so different. And that doesn't mean a thing. It is so good that I have changed. Because if I hadn't changed, I'd be an immature year 9 forever. And I am somebody who hates change. Like, I despise it. Like, if I could live without my world changing around me, I would. Which is why I'm so scared about uni and stressed about it. Because I'm being thrown into this whole new environment where I learn these whole new things, going to a town that I don't know anybody in. And I'm starting fresh. That's so exciting, but I'm terrified because I hate change. But you've got to learn to change. Me, now, and me in January, so different. Doesn't mean there aren't similarities, but man, that girl did not know what was going to hit her. But I've learned so much, and I've grown so much. And you've got to give yourself that room to grow and that room to change. Take care of yourself. Be kind to yourself as you're changing. Especially as a young adult, as a teenager, you're always learning, you're always growing. You're meeting new people, they're changing how you think. You're learning new things all the time. Let yourself grow and change. And while you're doing that, give yourself the grace and the kindness to do it. Don't hate yourself because you're changing. And if you don't like something about yourself, it's never too late to change it. If you don't like the way you speak to people, if you don't like the way that you're a people pleaser, if you don't like the way that you let people come and take advantage of you, if you don't like something about your appearance, if you really don't like something about yourself, it is not too late to change it. Nobody's forcing you to stay like that for the rest of your life. It is all a part of your decisions. It's all about what you can do with your own life. So I want you to remember that. It's not too late to change the things you don't like about yourself. And now I'm not going to say go and change everything about yourself till you're the exact person you want to be, because we can never be the person we exactly want to be. We can come close, we can try, but at the end of the day, if I've learned anything, the closer you get to pushing yourself to be that person, sooner it is that you realise that you'll never truly get there because you'll keep finding new ways to improve yourself. You just need to realise that you'll keep getting closer and closer to that person, but there's always a new way to change. Just realise that. My final piece of advice is it's never too late to love yourself, and this kind of comes under the it's okay, you don't have to stay the same. But you've got to learn to love yourself, because how on earth are other people supposed to love you if you don't love the person that they're gonna love? Be kind to yourself, because you're pretty damn amazing. You are so worthy of being loved, experiencing love, and loving yourself. Start with affirmations, or start with what you're grateful for or what you love about yourself. One thing a day, and you'll realise there's so much about yourself that is lovable. Because I know there is. And I don't even know that much about you. I just know that if you're listening, you are worthy of love. After this rollercoaster year, I just thought that these are the important things I've taken away from it when life has got really hard. Because life got really hard, and it really hurt, and it really bit me and abused me and fought me to death. But I overcame it. I overcame every single challenge that I faced this year. Some things about me I'd say maybe are a little bit worse, but there are so many things about me that are better because of it. And if you asked me if I could change everything that happened this year, if I could take away all that pain, all that grief, I'd say don't. Because even if I got a bit longer with those people, even if my relationship had survived, I would have missed out on a lot. And those things were all going to happen eventually. So they happened in the right timing, because here I am, I've survived. I lived through 100% of my bad days, and you can too. So I just want you to listen to my final recap of the 6 things and 6 life lessons I've learned this year, so you can take away and think about them And honestly, send me a DM on Instagram at It's a Girl Thing Pod and let me know what your top 6 life lessons from 2023 are. Because mine were: 1, everything is temporary, don't take life too seriously. 2, nobody doing better than you will judge you for what you are doing. 3, everyone copes with loss/change differently. 4, it's okay to remove people from your life who don't help serve the best version of you. 5, don't be scared to love. And 6, you don't have to stay the same. Thank you for listening, and I hope you tune in next week.
Thank you for joining us on this week's episode. It's been great having you. If you have any topics you'd love for me to discuss, want some big sisterly advice, or just want to say hey, just reach out to me on Instagram at It's a Girl Thing Pod, and I hope you join us next week. Stay beautiful.